Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Rest-O-Mod Daisy, and we've got a follow-up video on our disastrous, or nearly disastrous attempt to remove a bottle cap from this old Daisy Model 111. Well, I didn't video the process because it's tragic. It was brutal, but it did happen. Occasionally, on a bottle cap gun, you're going to run into a bottle cap that does not want to move. And even though they may not want to move, they're going to have to move because they're bottle caps. They must come out. So up here we have an example of a bottle cap that is actually complete. You'll notice that it has the end piece. It's got the BB retention spring. This metal sleeve is firmly attached to this threaded section that threads into, and I want to show you this, the abutment washer. This is actually what the bottle cap threads into, and it faces this way in the gun. And let's go down to the receiver of the gun, and it sits about here in the receiver assembly. A little bit of fudge factor, but not much. Right about there is where it's actually going to be firmly planted and held in place. Now, a couple of things to notice on the abutment washer. You'll notice on this side that there are two small tabs, one on either side at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position. Those tabs are there to allow two thin pieces of metal to slip up over them and then be folded down on them to hold them in place. And that's what keeps the abutment washer firmly locked in one spot and does not allow it to rotate. That's important because occasionally you'll run into a bottle cap that decides it's not going to leave the threads. And no, it will sooner or later. So the process involved in this particular build was this was the bottle cap that was stuck and it had to come out. So the only way to do that, there's a couple of ways to do it, but the way I like to try to start with is to lock the end of the bottle cap in a vise and then twist the receiver. Now that's what we did with this one, and we twisted the receiver quite a bit. If you'll remember from previous videos, the BB retention spring goes in this tiny little hole there. Now normally on a good bottle cap, one that's well behaved, that little hole will be there, and there'll be a line running straight down the tube, straight as an arrow, because this is a folded metal product. Now you can't really see the line because of the paint job on this one, but it's still there. And this small piece actually fits into a slot that's in that groove. Folded metal, not seamless. Well, if you get to cranking excessively on a bottle cap, trying to extract it, what's going to happen? This folded metal tube is going to turn into a spiral metal tube. Take a look at the twist on this. That has really wrapped a couple of times, a couple of full rotations, until finally the metal at the base of the tube that would have been sitting down in here said, oh, that's it, we're done, and it broke. So once it broke, I was able to pull the bottle cap assembly out, but I'm still left with the feed assembly stuck in the abutment washer. So I have not solved the problem. And it was stuck. It was not going to let it turn. It wasn't going to let it do anything. It was just completely messed up. So in order to fix that problem, you got to drive these out of the receiver. Yeah, there we go. Now it can spin, and that allows you to load and unload the gun, and then you can take it out. But it had gotten jammed on the threads somehow or other with dust, debris, grit, rust. It was not allowing it to spin out. So the solution to this is to take the receiver and mount it in a vise, and then get yourself a piece of steel rod about yay big. Then what you'll do is you'll place this rod in the muzzle all the way down to the abutment washer. And what's going to happen is we will end up in an environment like this, where you actually pound the abutment washer out of the receiver. Because remember, there's two tabs of metal, one on this side and one on this side, that hold the abutment washer in place. So if you're pounding from the muzzle side, you can tap those rascals out flush and then drive the abutment washer out of the back of the gun and correct your problem. In this case, get this finally removed so that you could reinstall a new bottle cap. See, there she goes, she's binding up. So there's something not quite right about the threads, either in the abutment washer or the threads that were on this particular bottle cap. But now, with that bad bottle cap removed, we can remount the abutment washer in the gun, bend the tabs flat, and if they don't break off, we're good to go. Then all we do is pick a new bottle cap or a different bottle cap, reinstall it, and now we have an operational gun again. So that's what happened. The old bottle cap did the twist, did the fail, and then that allowed me to be able to get my rod into the gun and knock it out with a hammer, which is what we did. Well, that's all we've got for you today, kids. That's a bottle cap disaster and resolution of the bottle cap disaster. When we reassemble the gun, she'll be up and running again. Shane Bruce, Rest on My Daisy, signing off.